It's in Monza! Charles Leclerc is the winner of the 2019... Charles Leclerc is out, and for the first time since 1984, neither Ferrari start their home Grand Prix inside the top 10.
Alright, F1 fanatics, let's talk about secrets, not the kind whispered between teammates or the clever aero tweaks hidden under covers. We're talking about the kind of secret that can rock the very foundations of the sport, spark outrage from every corner of the paddock, and leave an indelible stain on one of F1's most legendary teams. We're talking about the time Ferrari, the Scuderia, the Prancing Horse itself, was accused of having an illegal engine trick. A secret advantage that fueled their cars to seemingly impossible speeds, and then vanished in a puff of smoke, leaving behind a trail of suspicion, furious rivals, and a highly controversial secret deal with the FIA. This isn't just a story about horsepower, it's about integrity, the pursuit of victory at any cost, and a scandal that F1 tried desperately to keep under wraps. Cast your minds back to the 2019 Formula One season. After years of chasing, Ferrari seemed to finally have a car, the SF90, that could go toe-to-toe with the mighty Mercedes. Early in the season, they were quick, but it was after the summer break, particularly from races like Spa and Monza, the very temples of speed, that their power unit seemed to unlock something truly special. The sight of Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel blasting past rivals on the straights became a common and frankly terrifying occurrence for the competition. It wasn't just fast, it was unbeatable straight-line speed.
Giving it absolutely everything. I get the feeling it's going to happen again.
Oh, they've touched and they've collided! Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. How much damage on Hamilton's Mercedes? What has happened there?
This wasn't subtle, this was a rocket with a prancing horse on the side. The problem? While Ferrari was blistering in a straight line, their cornering performance wasn't consistently matching Mercedes or Red Bull. This created a glaring, almost impossible to reconcile discrepancy. Logic dictates that if you have a draggy car that's fast on the straight, you should be slow in the corners. But Ferrari was so fast on the straights, it defied normal aerodynamic trade-offs. The paddock, full of the smartest engineers and the most competitive minds on the planet, started to notice. And they started to whisper. These weren't just the usual accusations of cheating from a rival, these were highly detailed technical suspicions. So, the whispers begin and rivals raise questions. Imagine the scene. Engineers hunched over screens, their faces etched with confusion. GPS data, painstakingly extracted from every rival car, was laid bare. On the monitor, a stark, undeniable anomaly appeared. Ferrari's SF90, especially after the summer break, was achieving straight-line speeds that simply defied the laws of aerodynamics as they knew them. If a car was designed for low drag, for a stupid fast straight-line pace, it should suffer in the corners. But Ferrari's cornering speeds weren't that bad. Their advantage was focused on the power-heavy sections, particularly at the very end of long straights. It was as if, for a brief, crucial moment, they were hitting an invisible boost button no one else possessed. The prime suspect quickly became the fuel flow rate. F1 regulations, strict as a nun with a ruler, permit only 100 kilograms of fuel per hour to be delivered to the engine. The tiny, highly precise FIA-mandated fuel flow sensor, FFS, is fitted to every car, acting as the sole official arbiter, measuring the mass flow rate of fuel. It's the critical bottleneck, ensuring no team gains power through excessive fuel use. But the theory, gaining terrifying traction, was that Ferrari had engineered a sophisticated, possibly even ingenious way to momentarily circumvent or trick this specific sensor. The most prominent theory, whispered through the pit lane, pointed to a fuel mass flow bypass system. The idea was deceptively simple, yet brilliantly devious. An auxiliary pipe or chamber could momentarily divert a small amount of fuel around the sensor, then inject it directly into the engine's fuel rail after the sensor. This would allow a temporary, unmeasured surge of extra fuel, giving an illegal but short-lived power boost without registering on the official FFS. Christian Horner, never one to shy from a direct jab, famously quipped that Ferrari's fuel smelled of grapefruit juice, a thinly veiled accusation of illegal additives or methods. Max Verstappen, with his usual brutal honesty, was even blunter, stating outright that their rivals were cheating. This building tension finally spilled over into the bureaucratic realm of technical directives. In F1, TDs are the FIA's swift, decisive rulings on what's allowed and what's not, often issued when teams identify a grey area to exploit. It's a game of chess, where teams push the boundaries and the FIA, the ultimate arbiter, draws new lines in the sand. It's designed to prevent lengthy, reputation-damaging protests and legal battles. But this time, the stakes felt higher. The Austin bombshell, the TD that changed everything. The stage was set for the 2019 United States Grand Prix in Austin, Texas. The Texas sun beat down, but the real heat was in the paddock. Red Bull, now armed with irrefutable data and the conviction of their analysis, finally presented a formal, highly detailed query to the FIA. Their question wasn't just, is Ferrari legal? It was, here's how we believe they might be operating, and here's why it's against the rules. It was a direct challenge, and the FIA had to respond. And they did. On Saturday morning of the US Grand Prix weekend, just hours before crucial qualifying, the FIA dropped a bombshell. Technical Directive 039/19 landed in every team's inbox. While the full text remained confidential, its message was utterly unmistakable, and its impact was surgical. The TD unequivocally clarified that any design or operation that could allow for a non-linear fuel flow between the single FIA fuel flow sensor and the engine's injectors was strictly prohibited. This technical phrasing was critical. It directly targeted any system, physical bypass or clever software trickery, that could deliver fuel to the engine without that fuel passing directly through and being accurately measured by the mandatory FFS at a constant rate. It effectively slammed the door shut on any loophole that could deliver unmeasured fuel bursts. What followed was, for many, the ultimate proof. Ferrari's speed, their almost supernatural straight-line dominance, vanished. Just hours after that, TD hit the inboxes. The SF90 was a different beast. Charles Leclerc, who had been on an astonishing streak of 6 consecutive pole positions, could only manage a distant 4th on the grid in Austin, a colossal 0.7 seconds off pole.
He wins in Monza! Charles Leclerc is the winner of the 2019.
Sebastian Vettel, too, was a shadow of his former self. In the race, the struggle continued. Leclerc finished a staggering 52 seconds behind the winner, calling it the most difficult race of the season. Vettel retired early with a suspension failure. Ferrari, through then-team principal Mattia Binotto, maintained it was pure coincidence, a matter of setup choices or track characteristics. But to the rest of the F1 world, the correlation was too stark and the timing was too perfect to ignore. The FIA wasn't finished. At the Abu Dhabi season finale, further intrigue arose when they announced they had seized Ferrari's power unit for detailed analysis over the winter break. The net was closing in, but the real bombshell was still simmering, waiting for its moment to explode. The 2019 season concluded with a cloud hanging over Ferrari, their engine seized, and an investigation rumbling beneath the surface. The entire F1 world held its breath, waiting for the verdict. Surely if a team had been found exploiting a grey area, or worse, outright cheating, there would be consequences. A public ruling, a penalty, something to restore faith in the sport's integrity. But what came next wasn't a judgment. It was a bombshell that left the paddock reeling, furious and utterly bewildered. The secret settlement? A deal done in darkness. The winter break passed. The FIA conducted its lengthy and highly technical investigation into Ferrari's 2019 power unit. This wasn't a simple check. It involved forensic analysis of sophisticated engine architecture and intricate fuel delivery systems, specifically looking for evidence of the alleged non-linear fuel flow that TD 039/19 had targeted. Teams geared up for the 2020 season, eager to see what revelations the inquiry would bring. Then, on February 28th, 2020, just as pre-season testing for the new season was wrapping up, a perfectly timed moment, one might argue, to bury bad news, the FIA dropped its statement. It was a mere handful of lines, terse and deliberately vague, delivered to a sport hungry for clarity. It declared that the FIA had concluded its analysis of the operation of the Scuderia Ferrari Formula One power unit and reached a settlement with the team. And then came the truly inflammatory part, the words that would ignite a firestorm of outrage. The specifics of the agreement will remain between the parties. Silence. Not an admission of guilt, not a declaration of innocence, just a private deal. The FIA tried to justify it by citing the complexity of the matter and the material impossibility to provide the unequivocal evidence of a breach while avoiding long litigation. But to everyone else, it reeked of something far more sinister. The very idea that a technical investigation into a potential breach of the fundamental fuel flow regulations could simply be settled in secret was an affront to competitive integrity. The reaction was immediate, unified, and utterly furious. 7 non-Ferrari-powered teams, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Renault, Racing Point, now Aston Martin, AlphaTauri, now RB, and Williams, released a blistering joint statement. They didn't pull any punches. They accused the FIA and Ferrari of a secret deal, demanding full and proper disclosure to ensure that our sport treats all competitors fairly and equally. The message was clear. This wasn't transparency, it was a cover-up. The very perception of fairness, the bedrock of any competitive sport, had been shattered. Why the secrecy? Why no penalty, no public admission? Cynicism ran rampant. Was it to protect Ferrari, the sport's most iconic brand, from a massive scandal that could have tarnished its image irreparably? Was it to avoid a messy, drawn-out legal battle that might expose even more uncomfortable truths about the limits of the single fuel flow sensor and its susceptibility to exploitation? The FIA's vague explanation only fueled the fire. For rivals, it felt like a slap in the face. They had invested millions trying to understand Ferrari's advantage, only to be told the alleged trick was too complex to prove, but somehow significant enough to warrant a settlement. The trust, the delicate balance of competition, had been deeply, perhaps irreparably eroded. This was a deal done in darkness, and its shadow would stretch long over the seasons to come. The FIA's secret settlement had left a sour taste across the paddock. But while the governing body and Ferrari maintained their silence, the upcoming 2020 season would provide all the unequivocal evidence that was supposedly so hard to find. The proof wasn't in a leaked document. It was written in the numbers on the stopwatch, clear as day, on every single straight. When the cars finally hit the track for the rescheduled 2020 season, the transformation was undeniable and shocking. Ferrari, the team that had been unbeatable on the straights just months prior, was suddenly and dramatically slow. Their top speed plummeted. What was once their overwhelming strength became their glaring weakness. This wasn't subtle, it was a fundamental shift. It wasn't just Ferrari's factory team that suffered, their customer teams, Haas and Alfa Romeo, who also used Ferrari power units, experienced a similarly devastating drop in performance. Their impressive 2019 qualifying pace evaporated, leaving them struggling near the back of the grid. This wasn't coincidence. This was an explicit, palpable loss of horsepower, consistent across three teams relying on the same engine. Further proof, albeit implied, came directly from the FIA itself. For the 2020 season, the governing body quietly introduced a significant technical change to the regulations: a second, encrypted fuel flow sensor. This was a direct countermeasure to the alleged bypass trick. While one FFS still provided data to the teams, the other sensors' readings were sent directly and exclusively to the FIA, completely inaccessible by the teams. The idea was brilliant in its simplicity. The FIA could now compare the readings from both sensors in real time. Any significant discrepancy between the two would immediately flag potential manipulation, making a bypass attempt virtually impossible to hide, as the unmeasured fuel would be caught by the second, untampered sensor. This twin sensor system effectively closed the loophole. Then, a crack in the wall of silence came from an unexpected source. Mika Salo, an FIA steward and former F1 driver, later provided what many considered a direct, if unofficial, confirmation of a penalty. In an interview, Salo stated that Ferrari had effectively been forced to run less fuel for the entire 2020 season, a silent, ongoing penalty to compensate for their previous advantage. While the FIA never confirmed this, it perfectly explained Ferrari's sudden lack of pace and was widely accepted as the truth behind their downfall. The fallout was huge. Ferrari's reputation, built on decades of racing integrity and passion, took a severe hit. The lingering questions, the shadow cast over their 2019 victories, and the perception of a secret deal created a deep well of distrust. Not just between rival teams and Ferrari, but also between teams and the FIA. It raised uncomfortable questions about the transparency of F1's governance and whether a sport can truly claim fair competition when such matters are swept under the rug. For Ferrari, it wasn't just about losing pace in 2020. It was about rebuilding trust, a task that has proven far more difficult than rebuilding a faster engine. The echoes of that controversial February day still reverberate, a constant reminder that in Formula One, some secrets just refuse to stay buried. What began as an almost unbelievable surge of power blossomed into one of Formula One's most enduring and controversial sagas: the full convoluted tale of Ferrari's 2019 engine, the whispers that turned to roars, the sudden performance drop orchestrated by a technical directive, and the secret settlement that shook the very foundations of Formula One. It all unfolded from that magical, straight-line speed advantage. It escalated with the mounting suspicions from rival teams, armed with data that screamed something's not right. And it culminated in a hastily issued technical directive at Austin, an immediate and undeniable dip in performance followed by the astonishing, deeply unsatisfactory resolution. A private, undisclosed agreement between the FIA and Ferrari. The implications of that secret deal still echo through the sport today. While the FIA has since implemented new, stricter monitoring with the encrypted dual fuel flow sensor system, and Ferrari has worked tirelessly to rebuild its engine program and its reputation, the incident left a scar. It highlighted the constant cat-and-mouse game between ingenious designers seeking loopholes and regulators trying to ensure a level playing field. It raised serious questions about transparency, about the fairness of competition, and whether, at the pinnacle of motorsport, some teams are truly more equal than others. For rival teams, it bred a deep-seated distrust that lingered for seasons. For fans, it exposed the murky, behind-the-scenes machinations that often contradict the clean, competitive image F1 strives to project. The 2019 Ferrari engine scandal remains one of F1's most controversial chapters precisely because it was never truly openly resolved. There was no public admission of guilt, no clear explanation, and no transparent penalty. Just a confidential agreement, a subsequent and undeniable drop in performance, and a lingering sense that the full truth might never see the light of day. It's a haunting reminder that in the relentless pursuit of victory, the line between innovation and exploitation can become dangerously blurred. And sometimes the biggest battles are fought not on the track, but in the intricate dance between engineers, regulations, and the powerful forces that shape Formula One. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please like, comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to F1 Focus for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.